Hello and welcome to 90.4 Oman FM. This is Tuqa Al Lawati, and the last Saturday of July marks Purple Saturday, an initiative dedicated to promoting inclusion for people with disabilities. In that spirit, today we are speaking to Omani autism and disability advocate Nouf Al Hajri. Through her bilingual content on her page Hanan Group, she challenges the assumptions many of us don't even realize that we hold, from language use to compliments we give, and even the stories we call inspirational. Nouf, welcome.
Thank you for having me.
It's a pleasure to have you here. So you run a social media page called Hanan Group, as we mentioned. You post little infographics to spread awareness about autism and ADHD. So who is Hanan and what inspired you to start this page?
Well, I think that it started a very long time ago. I've always, been an advocate at heart. By the time I was 10 years old, my exhibition at school was about how the ministry could better improve the quality of life of people with chronic illnesses. By the time I was in grade 7 and 8, I had my own charity where we'd raise funds and visit the children who were staying in the hospitals, play with them, get them gifts, also try to reassure parents that were there. By the time I was in university, I was volunteering with the National Autism Society in the UK. And at that point, I think I was like, I have a lot to say about this. Why not just make an account and say it?
Nice. Interesting. But do you feel like these kind of posts turn very complex diagnoses or issues into short form videos or posts and basically makes them quite reductionist?
Yes. I think a lot of the content we consume in social media as a general does, especially with disability or chronic illnesses, it does kind of remove the complexity and the nuance that comes with it. But I think that it's a start. It is a start to start spreading awareness. But as I've always tried to do in my posts, which is try to remind people that, every experience is different, every person is different. Even if I try to bring out general knowledge, there are exceptions. There are, people who are outliers. There are people who have atypical presentations. You shouldn't take everything at face value. And I think with accessible posts, to do it bilingually, we should not remove the nuance so that people don't misunderstand these things.
Definitely. And going to your diagnosis, when did you get diagnosed and how did that change your view of yourself and of the world? Because I know that after the diagnosis, many things start to make sense about the way you grew up, your experiences at school, in your family.
Well, for autism, I think I was diagnosed around COVID. It was during COVID time. It was honestly a shock. I was going to counseling and therapy, and I was doing the therapy because of ADHD to begin with. And the therapist sat me down at one point and was like, "Have you ever thought to get diagnosed with autism?" And I was like, "No." Why?
Yeah. What is it that stood out?
So she explained to me and sent me a lot of website and information, and I got diagnosed, I think, a few months later through the NHS. And it made me sit down after a while and realize, oh my God, my life finally makes sense. My diagnosis didn't change who I am. It kind of changed how I perceive myself and how I moved forward to asking for support after that, because after asking for support and accommodating myself, I realized, wow, I was living life at hard mode. But yeah, I think in general, any diagnosis, even if it's not autism, any kind of diagnosis, it gives clarity of your experience and a kind of name of what you're going through.
Did you have a stage of denial where you did not want to accept that you had autism due to some misconceptions?
I don't think I had denial. I think once, because first I didn't know what autism was in general. I think the first time I heard autism was when I was in grade 9, and it was because someone called me autistic. And I did search it up, and I was like, oh, these symptoms make sense. And I went to my mother, and I was like, this makes sense. And she goes, oh, no, you're not autistic. Yeah. But after growing up and reading it again, I was like, it does make sense. And I didn't have the denial phase because it just clicked.
Mm-hmm. Because the word in Arabic, tawahud, people tend to misunderstand it as just being a loner.
Yeah. Yes, they do.
Yeah, and I think that's what caused your mom to be like, no.
Yeah.
Can you talk to me about executive functioning? And for those of you who don't know what that is, it refers to the brain's management system, or the mental skills required to plan, to organize, to start a task, to finish a task. How do you deal with executive dysfunction?
Well, it took me a very long time to try to tackle it. And even to this day, I don't think every day is perfect. Well, executive dysfunction for me mostly is switching between tasks and starting a task. Those are the two hardest things for me. Once I start a task, I cannot switch. Starting the task takes me too long. So I try to have a schedule every day. Even if it's not by the minute, I try to give myself leeway, okay, I need to do this. I'll give myself an hour to try to switch between the next thing that I need to do so that I can at least accomplish some things without the executive dysfunction taking over my schedule. And I think a lot of people misconcept executive dysfunction as laziness. And I have been told that a lot. And I think it comes from the fact that people don't see the mental effort it takes to be able to do these things. Yeah, it is not laziness. It's not a measurement of intellectual capacity. It's just the struggle to try to initiate and switch and all of these things, yeah.
How about when you were back in school? Did you struggle with transitions, as in this is the weekend and the next day the week starts and you have to go back to work?
I think I actually made a post about this, which was the Saturday dread. I talked about how every Saturday, since as long as I can remember, I would cry because, I have to go back to school. Yeah. And I always found it so hard to switch from the weekend to going back to school. And I think to this day, when I was in university or working, I'd be Saturday night, I'd just sit there in bed and be like, man.
I think even non-autistic people struggle with it, so I can imagine how much worse it is. So one of your posts also says, you can't be autistic, you can talk. Why is that comment harmful, and how can you challenge it?
Well, it's harmful for one reason. First reason is autism and speaking are not the opposite of each other. I think a lot of people think of autism and they think nonverbal, autistic people. But autistic people can come in many forms. Some can be nonverbal, some can be semi-verbal, and some can talk very, very fluently. Autism isn't a diagnosis of being able to speak. And I think a lot of people, that's what they understand. And this person isn't able to speak, therefore they're autistic. But it's way more nuanced than that. Autism is about communication differences and rigidity with schedules and stimming, and repetitive movements. So when people say, "Oh, you can speak, you can't be autistic," I'm just where does it say that in the DSM-5?
Yes, it's a spectrum after all.
It is a spectrum after all.
And you've also spoken about autistic masking. Is it simply a fear of being perceived? And could you explain to us what that means in everyday life for you?
I think autistic masking is more of a survival instinct. When you are masking first is hiding your autistic traits to appear more neurotypical so that other people can accept you. So when you're masking, you're trying to, copy the person, you're trying to, learn the rules, you're trying to seem as quote unquote normal as possible. But that takes a lot of effort. That takes so much effort to do. And a lot of people, eventually it leads to like exhaustion, burnout, and sometimes even loss of identity, where I've heard people say, and I myself, I don't know who I am anymore. You know, I've been pretending to be someone for so long that I don't know what I like. I don't know what I think. So it is a survival tactic, because if you face bullying, if you face discrimination, at some point you try to like, you know, not be that person anymore.
I assume it must be very lonely to have to keep that mask up most of the time in order to survive. So do you think the antidote to that is to befriend or to make connections with fellow neurodivergent people?
See, I don't think masking is completely bad, because it has helped protect a lot of people in the autism like community. And I think the antidote to that would be a more accepting society, rather than, you know, only befriending people who are neurodivergent in general, or more specifically autistic. I think the way things should go is a more accepting society of more visible autistic traits, so that people do not have the need to mask anymore.
Agreed. And there is this idea that autistic people don't understand nonverbal cues, and this includes the setting, social expressions, tone. Many describe being experts at learning these rules intellectually rather than intuitively.
Yeah.
Was that the case with you?
I wouldn't say I'm an expert. I'm still very bad at trying to pick up nonverbal cues from people. I did try to learn them, you know, as I grew up. And my mom tries to like point things out for me, like, oh, this is what they meant. Oh, when they did this, this is what they meant. But I think when you learn it like as more of a set of rules, rather than, oh, I was born and I understood it, it's different, because nonverbal cues differ in every single setting. You'll not have the same nonverbal cue that would imply in every single setting. So it gets very confusing. Mm-hmm. And you're like, okay, if this is the rule, then why did they do that? So I don't know. You can learn it, but I don't think you can perfect it.
Yeah. Were there times when others perceived you as cold or rude because of it?
I think so, yes. Growing up, I was told that I was unapproachable until they actually spoke to me, and then they're like, oh, you're actually nice.
Is it the lack of facial expressions?
I think it's the lack of facial expressions. And especially, like, I'm never a morning person, so going to school, I didn't come in, you know, laughing, smiling. I kind of just sat in a corner. I was like, okay, can we all, like, calm down? A lot of people do find people who are like honest and very straightforward to be aggressive. There's a thing that in society you kind of have to like appeal to people in a way that's like, oh, if someone compliments you, you have to compliment them back. Oh, if someone like, you know, is asking how your day, they aren't actually asking about your whole day. They're just saying, are you okay? Yeah. And I think it's the difference in communication. And I think that it's just the people need to realize that, you know, it's not aggressive. It's not that I'm trying to be mean or rude. I'm just like, this is the way I communicate. This is the way a lot of people, like different people communicate differently. Even throughout cultures, you'll find there are differences in communications and people would perceive other culture communications differently. I think it's the same with autistic people and like neurotypical people.
Mm-hmm. Regarding your ADHD diagnosis, there is a concept called object permanence. I don't know if you're familiar with it.
Yes.
So do you find that because of your condition, it's hard to miss people, that if they're not physically around you, you're not able to feel connected to them?
I've been told a lot that I do not text people, because once you're far away from me, I'm kind of like,
Out of sight, out of mind.
Yeah, like I don't, and not in a mean way. It's just that, when you're not around me, I'm kind of like, okay, you're not really popping up in my mind unless something actively reminds me of you. So I'm not trying to be mean. And I think a lot of my friends have understood it at this point, that I'm not trying to be mean or anything. It's just that, sometimes you will slip out of my mind for a while. You just gotta remind me you're there.
Did you lose some connections because of it?
Yes, I did. I did lose some people because of it, because they thought I did not care. While I do care, and I do actively try to like remind myself of people. I would have like alarms to be like, okay, it's been a few months, you gotta check on this person. But I think some people need more effort when it comes to that, and because I don't provide it, they kind of just like, okay, I don't want this kind of friendship, and which is valid.
Interesting. So I want to tackle language. We assume that if something is well-intentioned, it cannot be offensive. We often hear terms like أصحاب الهمم in Arabic or differently abled people in English. Do you agree with this usage? Because I find that overly positive framing can be alienating.
It is alienating. I think the main problem is people are afraid to say disabled, and I don't know why. People think, oh, it's stigmatizing, oh, it's offending people, while like disabled people in general are saying, I am disabled, there's nothing wrong with being disabled. It's a neutral word, it's not like you're offending anyone or anything. And I think these like overly positive wordings
it's almost an acknowledgement that yes, you are different. You are not one of us.
Yeah, and I think so let's say like ashab al-himam in Arabic, or people of determination. The translation in English, it's like, I saw this one video during Disability Awareness Month, where in Saudi they did a video. It says ashab al-himam ma kulna anna himam, which is like, yeah, we do all have it. It's, I think these words, we're focusing too much on trying to be positive while just ignoring the fact that, disability is fine. We don't need to change it.
On the flip side, do you feel like people are walking on eggshells when it comes to this kind of language instead of actually listening to disabled people?
I think disabled people were not in the conversation to begin with. I think the thing, it's a two-faced coin. There's this like, oh, I'm trying not to offend this person. I'm trying to be very well-intentioned. And on the flip side, I'm ignoring the person that it actually affects. I'm not listening to the person who's like, it affects. And in that way, you're kind of like creating more barriers rather than trying to remove them.
Mm-hmm. What real changes would make the biggest difference for autistic and disabled people here in Oman?
Well, let's see. I think there are 4 steps to like being a more inclusive, before we become an inclusive society. The first step is awareness, where we have started to achieve that with, the different societies, with people starting to speak up and all of that. But awareness without acceptance is just information. So we need acceptance from the society as well. And if you have accessibility without acceptance, it's just rules for people to follow, where they don't understand, why are these people getting special treatment? So I think the core of everything starts with acceptance. I think people need to start accepting, disability as, another human being that just needs different kinds of support. And then we can start finally like implementing more things, being more inclusive society and a more accessible one for everyone.
What does that acceptance look like, or that accessibility look like?
I think acceptance, it's a very, very long journey. I mean, even for the disabled person themselves, accepting disability is a journey. And I think it's more about being okay with, disabled people, just being okay with disability, because we have this belief that we grew up with, that disability is a bad thing. And I think we need to like move away from that and be like, we're human. And once we accept that we're all human and people need different kinds of supports, even if you're not disabled, we all need support at some point. We can't all go throughout life without any support. So once we have an acceptance of disability in general, and we're just like, you know what, it's fine. Just another human being on the road.
Finally, Nouf, in recognition of Purple Saturday, what message would you like to send out to fellow autistics or people with ADHD or even neurotypical people out there?
I think the message I want to give everyone is, to be hopeful of a better future. Just keep... I know a lot of people sometimes get sad about how things are or how some people don't accept them. I think the best thing is hope and belief that there's always something that will change and will get better.
Lovely.
Yeah.
Amazing. Nouf, thank you so much for joining us today, for sharing your insights and your experiences and your very refreshing perspective. Is there anything else you'd like to share with us?
No. Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much. You can follow Nouf at hanan.group on Instagram. And this has been Tuqa Al Lawati on 90.4 Oman FM.